Hello guys and welcome to episode 6 of HaxBall Go Tactical Analysis. Today we're looking into one very interesting goal, so let's just look at it first and then make the analysis. We're starting off here with the throw-in. And from here number 7 just scores. Okay, let's go back to see what went wrong for the red team. So first off we'll start with throw-in. So essentially here we have a pretty good setup for the red team. I would even say that the blue team has some mispositioning here. They are guessing that the number 10 would exploit that they were on the offense before the throw-in, so they're afraid of a pass from the throw-in and then a direct shot. That's why they're both going backwards, and they're probably trying to focus on a quick pressure here because a pass up here is unlikely and a pass up here is pretty much impossible. Okay, moving forward, we have the pass. Immediately we have here the player pressing on the number 10. We have the goalkeeper falling backwards. We have a possible back pass. The number 7 here is going downwards to close the space. We have a pretty standard square. One thing I want you to note here in this position, and we'll come back to that later, is that these two players here, the so-called square here in the back, they shouldn't be in a perfect square, in a sense that these two players, it's not optimal to be exactly on the same position. Like, depending on the situation, once the ball goes a little bit further, you would want that player to move a little bit into that direction, or if that player decides to not move, then that player should go a little bit backwards. So you essentially want to have always one of the players to be a goalkeeper, in a sense that he always covers the direct shot, that the direct run that the striker can make. And as you saw, this is how essentially the goal was scored, but we'll get to that later. Right now we control the ball if we assume we are the red team, but as you see that the pressure is happening pretty fast, and the way that this ball was played, you could expect that if Isco was to make a pass like that, and if that player here was to intercept it, it could get dangerous even before the situation that we're analyzing. So this is the first thing that we have to keep in mind on the red side here, that staying on one single line like that, like in this situation, like the number 7 here is like you could see that there's an advantage, like they have some meters to have an advantage. So in case a run starts in the correct in the exact moment, and if both players start running together, it wouldn't be a problem. But I'm just saying, like, on theory, how this player should keep in mind that, or maybe he could go a little bit downwards here just to have a block opportunity, like being too far away. And if that player was to come somewhere around here, he has a nice distance between this player and between that player, which could be an opportunity for the blue team here. Moving on forward. Okay, so we see here the pressure, it's getting pretty close. I'm not sure why the blue player here doesn't have the courage to actually attack the ball, considering that he's probably going to win at least a throw-in from this situation. Or if the number 10 makes a kick, like I earlier said, the goal could go like in that direction, which again is good for the blue team. But nonetheless, what actually happens is we see here the number 10 making a very good move. Like this is really good for going after going through a defender. So the back pass here, and now this turns to be a very good opportunity for the red team. Just imagine if AMP here with the ball, if he was to pass it like that, and if this guy made that move, and if the number 1 here continues the pass directly, and if Goku wasn't on time to intercept that pass, it could have been very, very dangerous for the blue team. I'm also noting a little bit backwards again on the square thing here. I see that the goalkeeper here is trying to keep that, so this is essentially what I meant. This is like the correct way to position yourself. But again, I understand that the goalkeepers in many situations they try to make a move here, so this corridor here is available for a pass because essentially everything above here is free territory. But when you do that, it's really risky, because if you're exposing here the road, it's probably not worth it, or at least you have to be very sure that the risk is worth taking. So moving a little bit forward, now we see here that the number 7 is pressing very closely to AMP here. And now in these situations, when you're being pressed like that, when you have two players here, this player and that player on the southern side of the pitch, pretty much, it is okay when you pass the ball as AMP, like instead of making that move to offer yourself for another pass because it could get intercepted, because over here it's not the point of interest on the pitch. Instead of doing that, the better approach, in my opinion, would be looking at what happens and taking care of that player, like going behind him, and then allowing, as soon as you pass the ball, allowing the number 16 to go inside or to go up there to offer himself as a pass, and essentially you switch positions. So right now this is the goalkeeper and you're the DM, and then you can just switch positions. And this is pretty much what happens if this situation, if we just imagine that we move it to the top of the pitch. What would happen is AMP would be the goalkeeper and the number 16 would be the DM. So it's pretty often, and this is pretty much the strong thing about playing this square, is that you're constantly having these two players switched, and instead of having the DM to move back and forth to run this huge space to the north, to the end of the pitch and downwards, you essentially split it as a square, and when the ball is down here, you have the DM a little bit forward, and you have the goalkeeper a little bit backward, and vice versa. When the ball goes up into that area, it makes more sense since AMP is more isolated. Like imagine if the ball is here and AMP is in that position, it's very unlikely that he plays with the ball. So it makes sense for him to go back, and it makes sense for the goalkeeper to push forward and to close that space. Because if essentially the goalkeeper gets here, it gets tighter here. He still has the advantage against number 4 in case the ball goes down in that direction here towards the up pitch. He will be first with the ball, so he has nothing to lose by going down. And again, if we assume that AMP here would actually cover the number 7. Now let's see what happens and what gets wrong here. So now I don't like the move of number 1 at all. If you saw that move, instead of actually going downwards and reading the situations from previously, instead of sorry about that, let's get here. So instead of like the ball is already flying. Now here the number 1, instead of reading this situation and continuing the pass for number 10, and number 10 didn't read the situation either, but if he was to read it, it was gonna get more difficult. But now here, props to number 4 here, Goku, who in this pose doesn't have the best position, because as you see there is an opportunity for a pass. He reads the situation quickly and understands his mistake and immediately closes down on the ball. While the number 1, what he does now, when I unpause, I want you to watch at his movement. He essentially just stays there and even moves a little bit upwards in that direction, which essentially prevents him from playing with the ball. And Isco here, instead of exploiting the free space here in the channel, he's actually going upwards to play for that ball. Like, I'm not sure if what's the reason to try to fight for the ball here, when essentially if the teammate here realizes the problem, he would have passed you the ball. Let's see how that turned out to be. And please look into this player's movement, this player's movement, and also keep an eye if it's possible here on the what are these guys doing after the pass. What is AMP doing? What is the goalkeeper doing? I'm gonna slow it down for you, really slowly. They're closing down each other. Now he failed to kick the ball here. Like from this situation, if he could press X, the ball would have went here for his goalkeeper, which is still fine. Like you don't exploit the weakness, but you won't concede. But in this situation, he misses the kick, and now see, they're almost on one level. Like here, if we try to draw a straight line, yes, the number 7 is in a little bit of a disadvantage. The number 16 still has the slight advantage, but it really depends if the ball will go a little bit downwards, which makes number 7 first, or if it would go a little bit upwards. If it goes upwards, not a problem for 16. But if it goes downwards, the number 7 will be first to play, and this is a big problem for the goalkeeper, which again, like we stated on the first pose that we did, the number 16 in these situations should be a little bit backwards, or, I'm not saying that's the only play, or we should have AMP here, like as soon as he passed the ball, like see how many seconds later this is happening. He should have already understood the situation and said, okay, I need to go backwards, I need to cover this number 7. Because if AMP was here, let's clear the drawing, it's gonna be a bit easier to understand. So if we assume that AMP positions himself over here, no matter whether if the ball went in that direction or in that direction, he was gonna go first. So this is why it's easier for AMP. It is easier for the player who is closer to the striker. See, they're like partners. It is closer and easier to prevent. As soon as you get behind him, he has nothing to do. While if you assume that the 16 here will cover the 7, it gets riskier, because if the ball goes slightly downwards, he's first to the ball, and it's pretty much a goal. See, even if we look right now, AMP, because everything happened really quickly in real time, he didn't expect that this ricochet here would result in a pass forward, which is why his movement was up front, which like I previously stated was also a mistake. But I want you to note that the number 7 here did a very good move, because as a striker you should always go for these opportunities. You don't know where the ball would go, but it's worth it to try. It's worth it to make the move forward in space, and in case the ball gets to in your direction, it's a goal. If it doesn't go to your direction, it's still fine, because either way you're out of defense. Like your only impact of the game is if the ricochet is in your favor. If the ricochet is not in your favor, you just go backwards and try to help your team with the defense. Or essentially, if the ricochet was going into that direction, just hypothetically, the best play here for number 7 would be, of course, to close down, but also keep an eye on AMP, because as soon as the ball gets here, AMP would be isolated behind you. So in this current situation, AMP should go back and try to isolate number 7, and if the ricochet was going upwards, it was going to be vice versa, number 7 trying to isolate AMP. So as a striker, a little bit of a tip here for the strikers out there that are watching this video. So guys, if you have the opportunity to make the run, make it. It's worth it. And if you try and you fail, if the ball is not going in your direction, just look at the closest enemy. You will probably be out of position. Look at the closest enemy. Here for number 7, that's AMP. Look at him and try to isolate him from the attack, because otherwise there is nothing else you could be helpful of for your team. Like it's essentially a 1, 2, 3 versus 1, 2, 3, and you want, if the ball doesn't go in your direction, you want to isolate this player. So this structure here, 3 versus 3, remains, because if you go up and if you don't go back in time after the ball gets up there, if AMP is smart, he could push here, and if you're out of position and you can't block him, essentially this turns into the 4 versus 3 for the red team. So you as a striker could be causing this problem. So Again, I'll say it last time. Push if you have the opportunity. If it turns in your favor, good job, you probably scored. If it doesn't, go back and try to help your team in defense as much as possible. And in most situations, like 80% of the situations, the way to defend would be to just grab the closest player and try to isolate him. Try to stay on the inside to pretty much try to stay between the player and the ball. Like here, like the number 7 is in this specific pose. Okay, gonna release it until the end. Pretty much that's it. The ball goes there, and there's pretty much no way catching number 7 here. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next video.